Hey, this is Wire with the Creative Habits Podcast going live. And this one is interesting because it's one of my favorites. It has to do with we don't need more information, we need transformation. And I'm going to be pulling in The War of Art from Steven Pressfield. But the whole idea behind this is really cool. And these are just some thoughts. Obviously, take it as you will. Mileage may vary. But these are some ideas I thought of, three different things that turn ideas from being just information to transformation. And here are the three possible ways. And then I'll show you an example of what I'm thinking of. So probably no new thoughts, but interesting nonetheless. The first one has to do with story. And this is something everybody talks about, especially right now. Online, a lot of different people, say, oh, use storytelling and so on and so forth. But here's the thing. I think if you look at story, story's interesting, story's good, and what it does is basically when someone tells you a story, your mind conjures up your own images of the story. So it connects with you in your personal life. So instead of thinking of a table, when somebody talks about a table in the kitchen, you have your own kitchen that you're thinking of from your childhood, from other places, and that connects with you in a whole different way than just seeing a table in a kitchen. It hits you on a personal level. And then a story comes through also with emotion, because part of the story is to create this emotion inside of you. And by creating that emotion inside of you, you also have a stronger connection. And everything together provides a bit of transformation inside of you that is well beyond just words upon a page. But the third part of the story that's critical is the arc, the story arc. And if you look at the hero's journey, which comes from Joseph Campbell. This is one of my favorite books, The Power of Myth. There's Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell, if you don't know, has gone through and looked at myths from around the world and basically curated together ideas from those myths. And he talks about the hero's journey, which encompasses all of those myths together. And the hero's journey, you probably have heard before, but basically has a story arc that's common within these myths. And what it does in a nutshell, you can look further, but definitely this book is one to read. And Hollywood uses this all the time. If you look at a movie, you can see this story arc done over and over again. And when movies do the story arc provided from the hero's journey, they're successful. When they don't drive as much success as they might. So here it is, in a nutshell, and this is just encompassing. But the hero goes through a specific arc. So they're leaving their normal world. They first portray, of course, the normal hero's world, and this is what their normal habits, their faults. And then what happens is something drives them into a different world. They go on a journey. They are transformed during that journey, but they go reluctantly. It's not like they go, oh, okay, I'm going to go on this journey. No, they go reluctantly, but they have to go. Something gets them to go on this journey, and they encounter a whole new set of rules, and they meet allies and enemies. Again, this is just a shortened version. Allies and enemies. And they usually have a mentor they meet, and of course, Star Wars is classic for that. But they develop new skills. And during this, in this other world, the skills that they develop, they're then, a transformation happens inside of them through these skills and understandings. And then they come back from the other world to their normal world. Not all the time, but a lot of times they'll come back to their normal world with these newfound abilities and understandings and defeat their old enemies with that newfound understanding. So that's in a nutshell what is happens within that story arc with the hero's journey. There's a lot of different other things that are going on in there, but that's in a nutshell what happens. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you think of the hero's journey, there's a macro and a micro hero's journey. So you have a macro in your life, your whole life overall can go through a particular hero's journey, but there's also mini hero's journeys that you're experiencing all along the way. Now, what's very interesting about this whole thing is how it relates to what's happening now with the thing that's going on. Won't be mentioned, of course, but because, Facebook and all that. But basically, you could look at what we're experiencing right now as a collective hero's journey, meaning what we're doing is we're leaving our normal world. We have all our normal routines and habits and things going on, and we're leaving that, and we are now experiencing a whole new world. And we're collectively and also individually, we're starting to develop our new skills and understandings. And we're in this place where we're doing this together. And that's why it's so powerful. It's a transformation that's happening on a collective basis, on a worldwide basis. But if you look at it, there are enemies and allies within all this. And it's amazing to look at that and really reflect upon it. But that goes into a whole other rabbit hole. But so that's one story, right? The next that will change change from being just information to being something transformational is writing. And I find that writing is very powerful, and especially with free writing. Free writing provides a way to, I think, converse with your subconscious. Now, that gets a little woo-woo. It doesn't really matter. If you go in and you practice free writing, you'll start to understand why that's so and how it comes about. But I find it your subconscious mind, of course, is collecting everything that you've ever done in your whole life. You won't consciously remember everything, but your subconscious does. So when you free write, you're able to tap into everything that you've understood and known, seen, and so on and so forth. Very powerful, something to practice like meditation. But when you free write upon something, or when you write upon something, there's a transformation that happens. Again, it's an internalizing, much like with the story, so that information isn't just words, but it's more than that. And that happens through free writing, through writing, through writing kind of like thinking on paper or thinking through the words. So it's transformation that happens with what you write. So very powerful there. Now, the third thing that moves information into transformation is help. And I think that's getting help from others. It means stepping outside your own thoughts and being able to see things anew. It's really a rare person that gets to go through transformational learning without some feedback and guidance from others. So the whole myth of like doing it all yourself, forget about it. You're not going to get there necessarily in a transformational way than you would if you look and you get feedback from other people and you get guidance from other people. It doesn't mean you have to accept everything hook, line, and sinker, but it does mean stepping outside of your own mind, obviously. So those three things, story, those three things turn information into transformational experience. Story, free writing, and then getting help or guidance from other people. Now, here's where it comes into play. So let's just look at The War of Art, Steven Pressfield. Excellent book. Definitely get it, especially if you're a creator, a writer, a creator of any kind, really. This should hands down be something that you read on a regular basis. Well, I consider this also something to read on a regular basis. But anyway, The War of Art. So here's a little passage from that. And it's one of the favorite topics, of course, one of those things that you can't help but bump up against if you create on a regular basis. And that has to do with procrastination. Here's the passage. Procrastination is the most common manifestation of resistance because it's the easiest to rationalize. We don't tell ourselves, I'm never going to write my symphony. Instead, we say, I'm going to write my symphony. I'm just going to do it tomorrow. It's the easiest way to fool yourself into not creating. So that's the resistance. Again, The War of Art, Steven Pressfield talks a lot about the resistance. And he does this through different passages, but really good. So here it is. This is just information, right? This whole passage is just information. And it goes in your mind and goes in one ear and out the other. The only way you're going to have transformation from this information is if you take and look at the three different ways. So story, connecting to a story in your past so that this becomes alive. It becomes something more than just words on a page. It connects to something, an emotion and things you've experienced in the past. Connecting that to your story, and ideally in having this story have a hero's journey arc, where there's a transformation in that story that happens. Story and then writing, taking this passage and free writing upon it, letting thoughts come alive on how it affects you. This could be any number of things, and free writing is going to bring up a lot of garbage, but you're going to find some golden nuggets in there. So third is getting help. So procrastination and help is being able to just that's a tougher one, but it's being able to get into groups, let's say, and people writing and motivating each other, having a online group session where you share your obstacles and other people share their solutions, and or having group consultation with somebody else who's gotten a bit further than you have, and you go in there and you get that transformation you need. So you get to that next level, because you're stuck at this level. You've done all you can. You really need somebody to kind of, or a group of people to kind of bump you up to the next level. So it's I think very powerful, and something that, if you look at information, how I look at it is, okay, you can put out information, but ideally to help your tribe, or to really make an impact, or make it something powerful, make it with greater meaning, is to create transformation. And so it's looking at, okay, what content am I putting out there? What kind of things am I putting out there? What kind of online courses have I done that, and this is how I'm going to be using it. What information do I have it out there, and how can I take and alter that so that it's transformational for the tribe that I'm serving, so to speak. So really a cool exercise, I think, is then going through all your content, going through all your content and really figuring out, what kind of, worksheets could you have, writing worksheets could you have people go through, what kind of story, like taking, you usually you'll have core content, like these are the mantras, the core content that you believe in, that you've put out there. And it's like, how can I transform this content? And so you can take and inject story, so that you take the words on the page, or you take the video that you've done, and you basically think back to a story to connect it to your own life, or you, if you don't think you have a story, connect it to another story other people have had, the journey they've had, and connect it to that story. So it becomes transformational writing, and then offering help to those people in one form and another, being able to have these online meetings and powwows and so on. So I think it's really cool. And those are the three possible ways of moving from information to transformation. Hope that's, ideas that are being shared. It's interesting, I think, but it's beyond interesting when you take the ideas and do little experiments. If you're not taking all your content, take one piece of content and play with it. Play with the three possible ways, or go and find some other ways to make it transformational, and then experiment with that to see how it does. Keep track of how people respond, and then tweak along the way. I think, with creative habits, that's what it's all about. It's these little experiments, and then being able to do these challenges to what you're already doing. And that way you bump up, and you're helping your audience more on an ongoing basis. Nothing is static, and to remain static is to die. So it's putting that content out there, doing those little experiments, and then if it's working, expanding out and scaling. So, okay, that's about it. Hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay clean, stay healthy. See ya.